Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Demon Life. I'm your host, Joshua Perkins. Here with me today is Jamarcus Marshall from the NSU football team. He's the senior defensive end. I'll be interviewing him of what's going on with NSU football and what's going on in life. How you doing today, Jamarcus?
I'm all right. How you doing?
So, you look a little banged up. What happened to your arm?
Man, just a little wear and tear from a season, from regular football season, man. From being in the trenches, this happens. You just got to roll with it.
So, what's it like being a vital part of the NSU defense?
It's a great feeling. I love every aspect of it. You know, I love knowing that my teammates and my coaches depend on me to be a big part of that defense and to be there to make plays and help other guys when things aren't going quite the way they expect them to. I enjoy being their leader on the team.
All right, let's go on a little more personal level. Where are you from?
Monroe, Louisiana.
Monroe?
Yeah.
So what was it like growing up out there in the city?
Growing up, I grew up on the south side of Monroe. It was my mother, my little brother, and my little sister. We grew up in a house in the ghetto, you know, and everything. It was all good, you know. I looked to my mother for all the support because my father was never really around, and my mother did a great job raising all three of us. And my little brother, my little sister's father, he was around growing up. So you know, it wasn't bad.
So what made you come to NSU to play football for the Demons?
Coming out of high school, I had a lot of schools offering me scholarships. The one thing that stuck out the most for me at NSU was the family atmosphere. When I got here, I was treated like family by everyone, from coaches to people around the city to the people who were on the team at the time. I felt like I fit in automatically when I got here.
Now, in 2013, I understand that you made All-Freshman and All-American, right?
Yeah.
What was that like, you know, just hearing that you were picked to be All-American as a freshman?
It was surreal because it was one of them things where me and my freshman teammates at the time, Ed Egan and Adam Jones, it was things like that we had talked about, and then like when I saw the article and I found out that I got it, it was crazy. Like I was sitting in my dorm in college studying, and I got a text message and people were telling me congrats, and I didn't even know what it was for until I looked at it and I was like, oh man, that's amazing. And like I called my mama immediately and she screamed and we told the whole family, and it was a great experience.
All right, so I know that, you know, you had your classes, and also with football, they always take on the road. It's always a hectic, you know, during practice, you got film, you got workouts. How do you juggle, you know, your academics with your athletics?
That honestly, I have to give credit to our academic advisors over there in the field house. They, from my freshman year on up until now, they kept us on a pretty good schedule to where, hey, there's a time for football, there's a time for school, and there's a time for leisure activities and things like that. And I kind of stuck with that schedule, you know, and that's the same thing I go by now. Now I'm in grad school.
What kind of music you like to listen to?
I listen to a lot of gospel now. I've kind of slowed down on my rap music, but I still listen to a little rap. It's mostly gospel and rap.
Okay, so like what kind of music you listen to before a game to like get you pumped up and get you motivated?
Before a game, I actually have problems trying to keep myself calm. So that's when I mostly listen to gospel music, because if I don't, I'll get too hyped up and I'll tire myself out way too fast. So I'll listen to gospel music throughout, probably up until the last 5 minutes of the game. Then after that, I'm praying on my way out to the field and things like that.
So you being a senior, you know, you've been through a lot here at NSU. Yeah. What would you say has been your best moment playing for NSU?
My best moment playing for NSU? The best moment that I've experienced as I've been at NSU was, even though I didn't get to play that week because I was out before I had my surgery, was beating Louisiana Tech.
That was a good moment. I was actually at that game in the stands, and that was a pretty good moment. You know, being in them stands, and once Chris Moore made that field goal, everybody just went into pandemonium.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And so, like, what was running through your mind when you saw that ball go through the uprights? What was going through your mind?
The only thing that I could think of was, wow, we really just did it. We really just made history. This is something that I'm going to be able to talk about for the rest of my life and be able to tell my kids about it and tell the incoming freshmen about, hey, I was on the team that beat Louisiana Tech.
So right now, you know, y'all have a lot of freshmen on y'all team. Mm-hmm. What would be your advice to the freshmen moving forward?
Don't take anything for granted, because this time flies by very fast. It feels like just yesterday I was a freshman in their shoes, and now I'm a senior and I've graduated, and now I'm halfway out the door now.
And you're totally right about, you know, it goes by fast. 'Cause I still remember my freshman year. Like my freshman year, you know, I still remember the day my mom dropped me off and hugged me and cried and everything and just sent me my way. But what kind of values have you learned to where you're going to take it for the rest of your life as far as what you learned here at NSU?
What I've learned here at NSU is that when all else fails, keep working and keep pushing, because at the end of the day, hard work does pay off, and be persistent and always follow your dreams. Never let someone else dictate what you can do with your life.
All right. Also, I want to ask you, what is your motivation? What has been these past few years? What has been that niche, like that leverage that kept you going to be great, that kept you striving for excellence these past few years?
Honestly, with me, it was not wanting to let my teammates or my family down, because they hold me to a high standard, and at all times, I feel like I'm. I have to make sure that they approve. I always feel like, hey, if you don't do this, then you're gonna let somebody else down. And my little brother and my little sister are watching me, so how would I feel if they saw me give up on something and things like that? So that just lets me know, hey, I can't stop. I got to keep going.
So, after college, what are your plans like? Do you plan on going pro?
If the Lord say the same, I want to go pro. But if not, then I'm gonna continue my grad school here at NSU, and I'm gonna try to get licensed to become a professional counselor, and eventually I want to open my own family counseling clinic.
Okay. Let's go back to your life in Monroe. What were your favorite spots out there in Monroe that you like to go to?
When I was in Monroe, I used to just like to go to the levee and hang out with my god brothers and my teammates.
Okay, let's go back to the NSU football standpoint. Tell us about like a typical day in practice.
Typical day in practice. With me, honestly, I'm at the field house probably 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I'm there and I'm watching film. And I go get some lunch and I come back. You get taped and ready at 2 o'clock. We're in the meeting room. We get the game plan for the week. We go watch a little film. We go watch about 30, 40 minutes of film. Then we're on the field, and we're practice for about 2 hours or so. And after practice, I try to get me a little extra conditioning in and things like that. And that's really pretty much it.
Over these past few years, what has been the relationship or what has been the bond like with your teammates over these past few years?
Every year we get closer and closer. And I know that's a really cliche answer that people hear a lot, but it's actually the truth. Like every year I feel like I'm closer and closer to my teammates, and I feel like we become more of a family as the time goes on. Like everywhere you go, if you see one football player, you'll typically see another one not too far behind them, and they're together and they're going somewhere together. You can even go to Walmart, and you'll probably see more than one of us together in Walmart. And that's just how we are. We've become that close.
All right, so let's try and do a little time traveling. How did you get into football in the first place?
How did I get into football? Well, growing up, I always wanted to play a sport, but I never really knew what I wanted to play. I liked basketball, but I didn't like basketball as much as I thought I did, because I got onto the basketball team and I quit because it wasn't really that fun to me. But I got into football, and I loved every part of it. The hitting, the competition on every play. I loved all of it.
All right, let's go back to when your signing day in high school. What was running through your mind when you signed that dotted line to be an NSU Demon?
The one thing that was going through my mind the whole time was, I'm ready to play football again, and like how blessed I was to have the opportunity to go to the next level, because as I was signing the letter, I could see some of my high school teammates that was in the stands that didn't have the opportunity that I had. So I was really humbled, and I felt extremely blessed to even have the opportunity that I had.
Now, in your first year here, you redshirted, right? So that was before Coach Thomas took charge of the football team.
Mm-hmm.
How were y'all able to adapt between the head coaching change, and then your first year on the field was actually Coach Thomas' first year head coaching? How were you able to deal with that change, despite the fact a different coach recruited you?
The change was pretty smooth, because actually Coach T was the original defensive line coach here as I was being recruited, and he saw my film. He already knew who I was. He actually told me, one of his things is he told me he handpicked me, and he wanted to make sure that I was here, and he was the one who gave the go-ahead for NSU to offer me a scholarship and things like that. So it wasn't really that much of a change, because Coach T already knew of me and I had already known of him. So it was just building a relationship once he got here and things like that.
All right, what's your favorite food?
Jambalaya.
Jambalaya?
Yeah.
I love jambalaya too. Me being from the South, jambalaya was probably a favorite that I grew up on.
Yeah, that's the one thing my mom makes sure she cook every time I come home.
So what's the off season like? You're now in the field and y'all got a lot of that downtime. What's the off season like for you?
It's constant work, and And that's the time where we really get to dig into our books the way we want to. And on top of that, we build on our craft. That's when you get in the weight room, you get more conditioning, and you build on your mistakes that you made the season before. And you get time to grow and get faster and stronger and all the things that you need to do to become a better football player.
Okay, so what would you say was your best game in your career?
My best game in my
Statistically.
career. Abilene Christian last year. If I'm thinking correctly, I think I had 10 tackles, 1.5 sacks, and a blocked field goal that game.
So you were pretty active that game.
Yeah, that game was amazing. I don't even know how I got all of it, honestly.
So when you get in them trenches, when you're on that line and you're in front of a big left tackle, big right tackle, what is your mindset before that ball is snapped?
I want to beat the man in front of me and do whatever I can to give this team the opportunity to win. No matter how big he is, I can't let him stand in my way of helping my team.
Because I've been looking at your stats for the past few years, and you've been a very disruptive player in the backfield against other teams. You've been a force to reckon with. You've been pretty much a nightmare for a lot of running backs, a lot of quarterbacks. What gives you that motivation to be able to have that domination, be able to have that leverage over other players?
It's a competitive attitude that I kept going from my high school position coach. He always said that if you're outworking the man in front of you, then it should never be a question about who's the better player. And I took that to heart because I take pride in my work ethic. I feel like I work very hard, so I don't feel like it's appropriate for somebody to show up on game day and outdo me. So whenever someone lines up in front of me, I feel like they should feel every ounce of work that I put in.
Okay, so when y'all take that tunnel at Serpent Stadium, and you know the pump-up video is on the jumbotron, the cheerleaders are out there making that line for y'all. The purple smoke is going, pyro. Here come the NSU Demons. When you take that tunnel, what's the feeling like?
It's an electric feeling. It's kind of hard to explain. It's like your blood gets boiling and everything, and the adrenaline gets pumping, and it's really like I don't know how to explain it. I'm excited just sitting there thinking about it. Honestly, it's an exhilarating feeling. It gets you ready to go.
Does it give goosebumps every time?
Yeah, it still does.
Still does. After 3 years, it gives you goosebumps.
Yeah.
So, what are some differences between high school and college football?
The biggest difference is the speed of the game. Now once you get in college, I realize really fast that everyone's athletic. Everyone can move. Unlike in high school, you might have 1 or 2 guys who are extremely athletic and the rest are just average. Now in college, you can tell who's really been working and who's really just here because they're naturally talented.
Now, I know that over your 4 years here in college, I know you've been through probably some hectic times. How do you get through those hectic times? Like, what calms you down during those hectic times in your life or on the field or off the field?
Honestly, when I'm going through hectic times in life, what I do is I'll pray. And I go to church or I talk to my mother, and she does a pretty good job of keeping me calm and talking me down whenever I have a lot of things going on. She helps me stay focused whenever things get to be a little too much at times. And she will tell me to call my pastor back at home, and he'll talk to me, and I'll talk to other family members like my grandmother and my brothers and things like that, and they help me.
So whenever you're stressed, that's how you unwind?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what are your hobbies other than football?
Other than football, I like to go volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club here in Natchitoches. I like to go work with the kids and go play around with them and help them with homework and do things like that.
Okay. So what are your goals moving forward?
My goals moving forward is to hopefully get this thing turned around. You know, right now our record isn't what we want it to be. We're sitting at 1-5 right now. It's not what we envisioned it would be. So my thing is now we want to take this one day at a time and hopefully get this thing on the right track. And I want to go out on a high note.
All right. I'd like to thank you, Jamarcus. You've been a great guest. And I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of Demon Life. I am Joshua Perkins. You have a great day.